So this is my Brimstone guide on Fracture. I'm going to be doing defense first on B. Start off with the smokes. So the first, like the most basic smokes you'll see people play, so these two. So this smoke is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You can do like some different smokes every so often, but most of the time this is going to be the smoke you're going to place the most of the time for Gen. This smoke is the better version of this smoke. So there have been people in the past that put it like this, where they'll cover this angle too. And the reason why you don't want to do this is because you don't want people to sneak really, really close and then pop flash out to this position, right? It also gives them multiple players that can do that as well. It gives them a lot of value for the pop flash. Also, it allows them to sort of sit in this area without being noticed. Like they can walk here and you won't see them until the retake is basically started, which is a very good thing. You want the smokes to actually not reveal, like keep this angle open, because if it is open, you see someone there, like they're going to get wallbanged from multiple angles. So they're not going to be in a very good position, and you can punish them for taking that angle. So you don't really mind people being in that angle, really. Next thing with this smoke as well, we can do one really far back. And the reason why we do one really far back is because if there's an enemy pop flash, like a KO or a Sky, then they're going to get less value with the flash. The flash will detonate about right in here, right? And the value it gets is going to be way less than if it was detonating here or here. So it's going to be really, really important, like, as you go up in the ranks. It doesn't really matter probably a huge amount at like lower ranks or mid ranks even, but at like higher rank this is actually like a difference maker, I think, to like the actual outcome of how a retake goes if you actually are against enemy flashes, basically KO and Sky in particular, because their pop flashes are particularly lethal sometimes. If you're going through arcade, or if you're not going through arcade, if you're going through main, only main and no arcade, we can put a smoke there like this, and that just simply cuts off an additional angle. Bear in mind, it makes it very, very obvious to the enemy that you want in arcade, you want over here, because this smoke is bad for them usually. So maybe the lurk can use this smoke to advantage sometimes, if they ask for it, to be honest, or if they make clear they want like a lurk smoke for you, from you. I mean, you can also, if you are going through arcade, so like basically all of you are going from arcade, or if like just you, potentially you can do a smoke like this too, which is very, very similar to the one I just showed, but this one has no, like, it doesn't come out this way, it comes out this way instead. And the reason why this can be good is because you can all go into this smoke and flash out at multiple angles, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 like different positions realistically that someone could stand in this smoke at the edge, and that can make it really, really strong against B players, because they don't know what side of the smoke you're going to come out of. So that can be really, really strong. It also stops that from happening to you on the flip side, right? With this smoke, that could happen to you on arcade, but with this way it can't, because they're limited by the choke point, which is quite big, and they can have multiple players there. So it's still not the greatest smoke, right? Because unless you have someone main, right? If you don't have anyone main, they can sneak into the smoke fairly easily, from CT or Gen. So it's not the best of smokes, but it's like a situational smoke you can use. When it comes to like mollies and things, I think I only have one molly lineup, and that molly lineup is one that I just like. It's very, very easy. All you have to do is kind of be roughly at this corner, and pretty much anywhere really, and you just want to aim at the bottom of this line where it meets like the metal bit, the sulfur metal bit, and then you just jump left click, and it always lands at dice, and we'll get all the default users and people like that. So all the people on default and dice. And you can be like super inaccurate with it too. You can be really far back from the corner and still land it. So it is pretty strong, just in general, this angle. So I would recommend using this molly and playing for time when you can. If you can't, there is like some dice mollies. I haven't quite got this one like perfect yet, but I am learning it as time goes on. What I do is I aim at the bottom of, there's like 2 gaps here, and I just aim at the bottom on this stem and fire. And usually this lands around dice, but I haven't got it consistent yet that it actually covers everything. So as you can see, it doesn't cover everything. So I'm working on making this one consistent. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. Sometimes it does land nicely, but it's just to do with the leaves, or the way like the vent as well. This vent can sometimes impact it, and these have like weird hitboxes, the way that it bounces off the molly bounces off them. When it comes to stim, The stim is pretty much a situational thing that goes for like every single site and hack defense. It's very situational. The situation is going to use it in is if I need to get somewhere faster, to smoke or to rotate to another site, or if I need to destroy a breakable wall like a sage wall or a deadlock wall or barrier, or if it's like, for instance, on ascent, you need to destroy some of the walls, some of the doors that come down when someone flicks a switch. That's when you'll use the stim. Otherwise, it doesn't have like any particular like major use. You can use it at the start of rounds if you're going to go particularly fast for executes and things like that. It's very, very general. There's not really much like specific for maps on it. It's just when you specifically use it. It can be different for each map, but basically it's the same use, same like line of reasoning for each use. Then we're going to talk about the ult a tiny bit. So I already showed this ult, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, I don't think I did. So this ult doesn't cover the left side, but it covers the right side. So as you can see, I can just stand here. I'm not dead, but and just here, this sort of line where I can stand safely. So we can actually eliminate that by going over to spawn and throwing a molly. So this is a molly that I spotted first from 100 Thieves, I think. And what you want to do is you want to line up with this corner here on this tree. You want to go down until you reach this leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, reach the leaf, and then I'm going to shoot it. And what I would do is then I would ult on the way there. I would do this ult that I just showed.
Open up the sky.
And what should happen is this molly should land. It didn't land perfectly for me this time. I just got it a bit wrong. I'm rushing it. I do have a YouTube short that shows exactly how to do it. I was rushing it there just to, for the sake of time. But what should happen if it happens successfully is it will do like a bounce here, and then detonate a bit here, and then it should fully block any one sitting tower combined with your ult. So it can be really strong for that. You can also ult like generator as well. Generator is a very popular angle for them to be. The problem is like they have a very easy way to get out if you smoke this, right? So what you can do is if you are going out onto site, what you can do is you can actually just ult this and then follow up with the smoke afterwards. So after this has been ulted, you just follow up with the smoke. And obviously people can't see through the ult either. Sorry, if I just ult again. Actually, I'll just ult in spawn like this. Can't see through the ult at all, really. Basically, yeah, at all. So it's basically a temporary smoke that also deals damage to anyone just chilling in generator, like sitting here in this angle, most likely. So it's actually a good plan to ult gen sometimes. It does help if you have like a fade on your team that can tell you if someone's there. Sorry, or like a sky I can show you with the bird. Let's go over to A. I don't really play a huge amount of A, but when I do, I play it over here. Actually, wait, I just realised I'm on attack, not defense. We'll get around, we'll go into attack, and I'll go over to arcade. Sorry. I don't know why my brain just thought I was going on to defense. So on attack, from arcade, I don't really do a whole lot that different. If we decide to do one of the plays through here, I'll smoke this. But it's not that brilliant of a smoke. I mean, it's really good because they can never push through it, right? Because if they try and push through it, they have to take this drop. And it's obviously downtime where they can't shoot, and it also makes sound. And there's also this rope, so they can walk down the rope, which is like the scariest part of this smoke, is that they can catch timing and walk down the rope. But they can do that kind of anyway if you're making a play up there. But they can't really shoot very accurate on the rope, as you can see. I can't shoot particularly accurately on the rope by design. And yeah, so it's not a bad smoke. And overall, like, you don't do too much different from arcade. I don't have any lineups from arcade. You can probably just bounce off this wall for something on site. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. On the fly. Molly for dice. But generally, you probably will be playing main if you're planting dice. If you're planting here, you're probably going to be playing over here. There is the tunnel to cross as well, so you can cross through there. Don't be afraid to do that to make your opponent in a post plant. Let's go over to dish. So on dish, I don't really play dish basically at all on Brim. The reason being is because this is very fight-centric zone at the early game, in like the early part of the round. And as I'm playing controller, right, I don't particularly want to get into the earliest fight possible. I don't want to be going for the first blood as much as my duelist will. So sometimes I will go for it, but other times I'll be using my teammates to go for these type of fights if we need them. So I won't be playing too much up here. But if I do go here, then hopefully would have won that first fight. And I'll be probably smoking something along the lines of this. If we do have main, then I will not smoke main. Sometimes I'll smoke main if we lost main, but usually it's just going to be these two smokes you're going to use. And then you might want to smoke, sorry, you're going to use one heaven as well, sorry. You can smoke main as well. If you smoke main, you don't smoke this. You smoke main instead. And generally, these are like normal smokes. And I'll talk about the other smokes from main that you can do. So from main, generally, if we're going fast, I'm going to put down a stim, because you'll get a lot of players in this area. If we're going to go split sand, then I'll do this. And if we don't have anyone drop, I'll do this smoke. So if we split sand, this is what it will look like. We'll go out, and then this should be smoked. There's also a little lineup you can do for people that go out sand for your team. You want to line up with where the box meets the wall, and then this line here, and you want to go to the middle of the right door from this line, and then you just fire. Oh, okay, I got it wrong. It's not actually that wrong. It's not. Sorry, it's just the top of this line. I think I aimed at like kind of the middle. Ah, okay. Trust me to get it wrong twice on. There we go. There we go. It's a bit higher than that actually for some reason. Just what I don't know what mood the molly's in to work, but this is what it should look like. So it means that they can't get out into rafters very easily without taking much damage or taking a lot of damage. If we do have drop, then like I said, we were doing these smokes. If we want to get like a very fast plant, and we're just going for the plant and not really for like control of the site, then I'll do smokes like this. And I want it kind of like this because what it does is it means there's no gap for anyone here to peek. They can see obviously on the stairs and on heaven, but that makes sense. And then on here, they can't really see anything either. So you want it quite close, like left this way. So you want this smoke to be more towards this corner, and you also want the smokes to overlap a fair bit, so it eliminates this angle onto the people coming onto site. So that's it for the smokes. For the molly, actually, I'll talk about ult is easier. You probably just do it all like this, either post plant or going into the site. And because it eliminates most of the angles, you only have this angle and this angle really to worry about, and maybe this angle. And then obviously the rest of site. You can also do ults like this that would like stop players from peeking you, and it's like basically a full smoke onto where you normally smoke. It's not the strongest of ults. I think the ult site is better. When it comes to mollies, we've already talked about one. But I've got a lineup here for the normal plant, the default plant, which is generally here in this corner. When you're planting there as well, you also want to make sure you're looking into the corner, because that forces the spike into a smaller area for the diffuse to happen. So what I'm doing for this lineup is I'm aiming at this corner here with the the crosshair indicator on my left click. It'll be, you can basically just watch this corner and you can see what I'm doing. I'm aiming at the top, like it's like the right part of the crosshair, the top part of the actual right part of the crosshair. Probably a bit confusing to actually talk about. And then I'm just going to the left until it reaches the line, to the right line of the hood indicator, my left click, and then firing. And this should land perfectly so that it doesn't so it does damage in the corner as well. Hopefully it does. Yeah, it does. Perfect. As I say, I thought I got it wrong for a second. But yeah, that works. Lineup is fine. And that's basically it for attack. Defense is a lot more... there's a lot more going on defense for Fracture. I'm going to start with B. I'll start with the basic smoke. So this is the most basic smoke you'll see on B to defend. And the reason why that this smoke is used so much is because it delays the enemy. First of all, like it's really hard for them to push through a smoke, right? Because they have to, when they initially push through this part of the smoke, as you can see, even if they have their own smokes, there's still a lot of angles. They need more util than just like dryly going through a smoke, and it presents more problems, right, for them, where you can be like right on the, like you can go right here up to them, right, and they don't know. So unless they have a flash or a reveal or something, then they'll easily die to you when they come out. So like that is really, really strong. It delays them, as I've said, but usually delays them that strong in solo queue. But it's still strong to place that smoke down because it just stops them from taking fights early on. They can't take fights like this on these angles, like this and this, which generally would favor the defender, favor the attacker. When they're actually trying to execute a site and find picks and things like that, it usually does favor the attacker in those circumstances. There's not really too many good smokes on arcade. There's this like smoke that I see a lot of people do, but I don't particularly like this smoke. You can do it. I don't think it's very good. The reason why I don't think it's very good is because it's likely to leave gaps like this, where this person can get caught off guard if they decide to check tower. Your team decides to run tower and check, and I could be sitting in that angle like I just saw, and it's very, very hard for the person tower to see it, to see this person in this smoke, and they'll get killed by that. It also presents another like little angle they have where they don't have the same problems that they did with the smoke over here, where they can sort of sit on this part here, and then they can swing like a normal angle. So that is also a problem as well. That's the reason why I don't like that smoke that much. We're talking a bit more aggressive smokes on B. There is this smoke, which I don't particularly like. Again, once again, like I don't really like arcade for Brim. Usually this is like breach territory or raise, breach raise territory, breach jet territory, even KO fade. They're like way better at this part of the map than Brim is. So I don't usually play towards arcade. This smoke is fine, but it also has like, it's such an open smoke, right? You're using 2 corners either side of it, so it's such an open smoke. So there's so many angles that are presented from the smoke. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 like probably different angles that someone can peek from, and obviously that's not great for if you're defending this smoke. You don't want 4 different angles to watch. You want 1 or 2, ideally 1 as much as possible. So you don't really want to be putting yourself in smokes like this, giving yourself smokes that are a bit detrimental to you. Let's go over to B main, and this is the smoke that probably a lot of people have seen before. You want to be using this one with teammates, so you should be communicating to your teammates that you want to put down this smoke. What teammates do you need? So just like call them by name. I want Neon, I want KO to come over here and hold this smoke. So you may have one up here, you might have one really close, you can have one up on top if maybe you've got a jet or a raise. You can have someone just even all the way far back main. You can then even use that to convert to tunnel pressure, and then into arcade. So you have like options with this smoke that can do a lot of things. It can also stop the enemy team from knowing your position so that you can go to her. I guess that does help. I guess that technically is a benefit to this smoke up here as well, is that you can cross into tunnel. The problem is, I guess, with this smoke still is that it is much faster to get through than this one. Actually, I don't know, is it? No, it's probably not, actually. That's probably not true. But the point still stands is that you can get into tunnel with these smokes and just pressure the map in general this side. Yeah, and that's it for B. Or at least the smokes. I haven't got any like actual mollies. You can use mollies to delay like this. Generally, you want to be using mollies not to necessarily delay the enemy team, but you want to delay a couple of the enemy team. So the reason why you want to delay a couple of them and not all of them is because generally you want like the fastest like jet or the raise to go out on site and isolate themselves from the rest of the team before the molly lands. So then as soon as you hear the jet dash, you'll molly, and then the rest of the team can't follow up and help the jet unless they want to like tank the molly, which is not a very good thing to do. Most people will end dying tanking most mollies in this game. Yeah, it's just not a very good thing to do. And the enemy jet will be stuck in a situation where they can't have help from their team, and they might be in a 1v2, 1v3, 1v1 that isn't maybe even favourable for them because they've just made noise of where they are. So, and who's to say there's not other util that they have to fight against as well? Maybe a KO or pop flash from up here, or maybe they've got a cypher trap on site that they're getting tagged by. They've just tripped it. So yeah, that stuff is really, really important. Make sure you are mollying after the first player has gone out. And when it comes to ults, there are ults like this, which are good. That can force the enemy team kind of into your crosshair at the start of the round. You probably want a teammate to hold this instead of you, because you can't get your gun strap back out when you ulted. As you can see, it does take me a tiny bit of time, so you might not be able to punish people necessarily. So in that case, what I would do is, instead of going like swinging out, like I would ask a teammate to, I would probably take this angle if I'm doing it by myself. and probably with a vandal as well, not a phantom. I'm not sure how much. 32 meters, yeah. So you want a vandal at this angle. 32 meters. Above 30 meters, you want a vandal. Just you look at my last video for that all that information about phantom versus vandal. Then we go to A. Got on A. The normal smokes that you'll see. The first one is this one. Very standard, very exactly the same as B main, especially with I'll talk about the molly real quick as well. The molly is exactly the same. You just want to put it in this choke point. It doesn't matter where you throw it from as long as it kind of lands in the choke point. You might be able to get it accurate. You probably get more accurate than me. But this molly is fine too because it just stops people from going out. And like I said, you want to be isolating the first player, so you want to wait for the first player to come out. The other one that you can do is on drop. There's this smoke, and this smoke is a lot better than the main smoke actually, and a lot better than most other smokes for anti like executing, or like a main smoke, I guess, where if they try to get out, they have to drop down, and while they're dropping, they can't shoot accurately. As you can see, my bullets go everywhere. And not only can they not shoot accurately, they also have to make sound when dropping. They can't do this silently either, so a lurk can't just like get through the smoke or sit in like the bottom of the smoke like you might have just seen me sit in. If I do it like this, you can see like I can sit at the bottom of the smoke and I'm not actually visible at all from the outside here. But the problem is that I would have made sound like this, and the problem is if you can hear sound someone dropping here, then you're going to get sprayed even if they can't see you. So yeah, that's the reason why you kind of use these smokes. They're really, really good. Next, we're going to go talk about this smoke. So this smoke is also an attacking smoke. So this smoke actually might get placed for you. But if you want to contest sands, if they go through sands a lot, you can sit in this sort of off angle. And what this off angle does is it allows you to take a really nice fight on the one tower here. Because this person tower will go up the rope. And then they won't look this way most likely. Most of the time they'll be looking this way. And that's when you can get a free kill because they won't be looking at you. There's also another way you can use it as well. You can just sit in the smoke and wait for people to come up to you and try and get kills on them when they come through the smoke. Usually get traded very easily there, but you do probably get 1-for-1. And there is also one more other way that you kind of use the smoke to isolate angles, right? So here, normally, if there was no smoke, I would have to fight all the way up here as well. I have to fight door and probably through the door as well, as you can see. Actually, I can just use the molly to open it. And you can see like there's plenty of angles for me to take in this area. Like I'd have to fight through the door too. But obviously without the smoke, with the smoke there, I don't have to fight it. So I can play a lot more around the smoke and just take 1v1s around the smoke. Bear in mind that if there is a player out here or something, they can shoot you off the minimap because you know, they can't see through the smoke, but they can use the minimap and their teammates' vision to find you. So it's not the most solid of players, but it can be really strong. At defending sand. You will mostly get 1-for-1 playing Brim here and using this smoke a lot. I enjoy using that smoke. And then there's also the more aggressive smoke, so I'll go over Dish first actually. So Dish's aggressive smoke is this one. It's not the strongest of smokes because it does have a bit of a flash weakness where if the enemy team has a flash, you can't take as much space as you really want to take. Because if you stand in anywhere like outside here, if you get flashed, there's nowhere to run. You're just dead in the open. But you kind of are forced to play here against flashes. If the enemy team has no flashes, which is usually not usually a thing, lots of people have flashes. But lots of teams, even in ranked, will have flashes. But if you do happen to find yourself in that circumstance, then you can. This smoke is definitely a bit better. In general, smokes are better when there's no flashes, to be fair. But this smoke definitely gets better because you can start to take these type of angles as well, which is really, really hard for them to deal with. You can actually come up really, really close if you want to as well, because it's very unlikely that a flash is going to get you here because they'll probably pop flash a bit red, like behind you, or maybe like on top of you, or even throw it past you. So you can go close as well, but bear in mind that when the smoke fades, you're in like a really horrible position that you might just die instantly. Especially because you don't want to be fighting and you don't want to be holding an angle when the smoke fades, because usually when a smoke fades, there's multiple angles that get revealed to you that and not only one enemy could be sitting in, but multiple. So you don't want to be kind of in the area when the smoke fades a lot of the time. When it comes to a main, there's two smokes that I usually do. The first one is this one, and I'll do this one if we actually want to take a main. So if I want to actually stand in here, with a teammate and maybe take the orb or like take this corner or just like play up, this is the smoke I would do. The reason why I do this smoke if I want to play up is because it eliminates the weakness it has, which is allowing an angle like this to occur, or even like yeah, that's basically it really. Just allowing those dumb angles to exist without like bringing it too far back. You can also do it really far back like this if you're against smokes. Sorry, if you're against flashes. So the person that has to pop flash this will have to walk up to the corner. And obviously, if you're taking all this space, it's hard for them to just walk up to this corner with a flash out. They actually have to take the initial corner first. So they might just have to do a not very high value pop flash just to take this first corner, and then they'll do a follow up pop flash here. So it can actually waste some util to do it a bit deeper, where if you did it like this, it wouldn't have wasted that util. The other smoke I'd do is this one, and I'll do this if I have like a judge. If I have like a judge, it's very easy to hold this at this angle. And the other reason why I would do this one is because if we're not going to take a main, this is a really nice smoke, because it does give them a bit more space. My A player over here can hold the full smoke. This is usually good with like Jet and Chamber, because when they can hold the full smoke without being in a particularly dangerous position, right? Because Jet can just dash away and Chamber can just teleport away. And not really anyone has that luxury otherwise. But yeah, as you can see, I'm going to show you the weakness of this smoke, which is if someone decides to walk like this, right? The A player and deep in A main on your team can't help you, or like can't see them, sorry. So they can like get close to the door, open it and swing someone door. Or more likely, they'll get up to close to this box and swing the box, which will catch the player holding like this off guard. So usually, I don't smoke this unless I absolutely think it's necessary. If I have, for instance, if I have a judge or if someone asks for it, because usually holding the deeper line is stronger. Especially if you've got an operator, you do not want to be doing that smoke. I mean, that's self-explanatory really, but the deep line is so important in that situation. You can also do a nice molly into this smoke as well off this box from door. Which really helps to delay some time as well. Or like potentially if they are taking door, or like taking main pretty fast, you can do that smoke, fire this through the doorway fairly safely, sort of tuck here until the door closes again and run back. Or maybe you can just take a fight afterwards, because you could be trying to isolate the guy in main, right? If Jet just dashes into main, or raise like satchels in around this corner, which doesn't happen a huge amount to be fair. But if it does happen, you can molly off the rest of the team and try and fight them and pincer them with an A player on your team. Stuff like that is really, really strong. And we'll talk about the ult real quick as well. This is the normal ult that people do, usually combined with breach. Breach ult sometimes, or just breach stun. And it's pretty good to get kills because it's really hard for the enemy team to get away from this ult. If they don't get away from this ult, they have to stand in these positions, which you can start pushing them. While they don't have any help from their teammates, you're isolating some nice fights. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Brimstone guide on Fracture. It's a bit longer than I would have wanted it to be, but Fracture is quite a chunky map to explain because of what's possible on defense, and you know the 4 sort of lanes it has, or like the 4 sort of entry points it has.
Right here.
Like the 4 quarters, it kind of, or the quarters of the map, kind of make it harder to explain, and it takes a bit of time to get through explaining it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.